All right, our friends at ABC News. Good morning. Good morning. It was Martha Raddatz, of course, formerly WCVB in Boston. I worked with Martha. She does terrific international stuff. J-Dog, good morning. Good morning, New Hampshire. That's the show, of course. Good morning, New England. Good morning up into Portland, Maine, and Kennebunkport, and York, and Berwick, home of Gina. Good morning. Some of our great listeners there. Could be TSN, Seacoast, New Hampshire, Dover, Hampton, Rochester, Portsmouth, you name it. 1270 AM, 98.1 FM. Good morning, Manchester, Concord, WTPL, 1077 FM, WEMJ, AM and FM, Lakes Region, Laconia, Wolfboro, Conway, up in the North Conway, Ossipee, where they're hoping to blow some snow for the holiday weekend after the washout on Monday. Still some people, J-Dog, as we begin our show on this beautiful looking Thursday. Actually, tomorrow's going to get a little milder, or by the weekend. It looks like pretty clear sailing right into the Christmas weekend here. Can't believe we're at Thursday, J-Dog. But some people, I talked to a friend up in Rockland, Maine this morning, and they're still without power in parts of Waterville, Rockland, right up into the Dover, Foxcroft area of Maine. They got walloped. J-Dog. Yeah. All right. So, hey, by the way, we're going to do your pick six at 11:20 with Josh from Veasan. Who's going tonight? Oh, that was the flex. Yeah. All right. Did I also hear? It doesn't feel like it, right? Looking out there. First day of winter? Really? Short one, huh? Hey, look at the bright side. Things elongate from here, right? All right. Hey, we have a full show for you. How about that St. Anselm College Institute of Politics poll yesterday? Michael Dennehy, one of our political analysts and all-stars, is going to be joining us in a little bit. Neil Vex Group over there, great partner, great friend. That's where we're going to be broadcasting live, by the way, Tuesday, January 23rd from the West Wing at the Institute of Politics, St. Anselm College in the morning. My show, Good Morning New Hampshire, with our great experts and analysts. And then that evening, we go on live that evening from St. Anselm's West Wing as the results start to come in. The latest poll, I don't know if you saw it or heard about it. You ready? Donald Trump, no surprise on the Republican side, with 44% in that poll. But Nikki Haley, this was after the Sununu endorsement, because the other polls were before, but I'm not saying that's the reason, but that's the fact. Nikki Haley at 30%. We haven't seen a candidate in that crowded Republican field for months move beyond 20, really. 30%, Trump 44, so a 14-point lead, followed by Chris Christie, I think, at 12, and then Ron DeSantis, surprisingly, single digits in New Hampshire, single digits, focusing a lot on Iowa, and Vivek Ramaswamy also seems to have to plateaued or not going up anymore. So the question is there enough time? Can this thing change? Well, how much will independents vote? So we'll have more on that. And then more feedback, fallout, you name it. That Colorado ballot ruling, banning Trump from the March 5th ballot there. Now, on the one hand, Trump doesn't need Colorado. He doesn't need Colorado to get reelected if he becomes the nominee in the general election. If he were to win, he doesn't need Colorado because it's gone. I think last time was Biden by 13 or 14 points. But the point is, it's really causing a reaction. And, this is what I hear from a lot of people. Because they tried that. Some people, I think it was Corky Messner, raised the question here in New Hampshire under that 14th Amendment. If you take part in an insurrection, can you be on the ballot? And they tossed it out quickly here in New Hampshire because, Trump's never been convicted of anything there. You can accuse someone, but he's never been convicted about it. So the point is, though, this really may have a double-edged sword, because the funny thing on this, and there was a good article out of England on this, Great Britain, this may actually help Trump, even as challengers in the Republican race are bashing Colorado. I mean, it's pretty scary when you're, a Democrat-controlled court is starting to decide who can and can't run for president in your state. Unbelievable stuff. And Mike Dennehy would know this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually can be a convicted felon in this country and be president. I don't know if people knew that. But here's the point. I think this Colorado court, this ballot ruling is backfiring. It's actually maybe helping Trump, certainly more for him to rally on. But let's go back to that poll right here in New Hampshire, bringing one of the great ones, Michael Dennehy. Hopefully he'll be joining us on primary day and even for some coverage. And of course, he filled in earlier this week when I had a personal a funeral service to go to and did a great job. Pack show. Michael Dennehy, Dennehy Belay Group, one of our great political analysts out there. Good morning, Michael. How'd that work for you? Michael, have you had a chance to digest this St. A's poll? Right. Mm-hmm. Michael, when I was no, go ahead. Michael, when I was speaking with our good friend Neil Levesque, who's the pollster on that or oversaw that, he has a meeting this morning, but I talked to him this morning on the phone, told him we are going to be talking about it. Of course, I got it yesterday, the poll. This is the question I asked Michael. I asked Anna Brown at Citizens Count. I'm going to ask you, and I think it's the question of the day when it comes to our New Hampshire primary. It's the wild card question, and here it is. Independents can vote in this presidential primary, and are they going to vote? Because we know in general elections, Michael, independents really determine the outcome. In the primary, it's a primary. It's largely a Republican primary because Joe Biden is trying to hold on to a write-in campaign because he's not running here. They want to, they're ignoring New Hampshire. So it's a Republican primary. Are independents in significant numbers in a primary, not a general election? Are they going to participate and vote in the Republican primary? That's where I think. And the other thing is Chris Christie, if he's not trailing better after the holidays, he could always do the bow out and support someone, presumably a Nikki Haley, because he kind of defended her in the last debate and he's not a Trump guy. And then all of a sudden, this thing can tighten. So the question is, are independents are they going to play or not, Michael? Right. Right. Well, you would know as well as anyone. What do you think? Right. We Right. That is the challenge. Levesque Neil said a good line this morning as well. A good analogy. It's like the Super Bowl or a playoff football game. A lot of people watch it who are not really into it. And he said the primary is not like a Bedford school board seat, selectman's election. people are going to be focusing on it, so they might participate more, even though it's a primary, because of all the attention. They're aware of it. They might just vote. But again, talking about it, thinking about it, having an opinion about it, and actually going to vote is a different process. All right, Michael, I appreciate it. Good analysis, Michael Dennehy. What are your plans for the Christmas weekend and Christmas holiday and all that? We are. Thanks for filling in. Hey, can I share a kind of a Kevin Costner moment with our listeners about you? J Dog, do you know that Michael Dennehy has done a lot of things in his life? I guess that's a sign of you can be humble and appreciative when you've had a few careers in his lifetime. But Michael's done a lot, and a good friend of mine and a good friend of ours in this state when it comes to, I think, our civic engagement. But do you know he's like Kevin Costner? I don't know if he has a ranch, but he has a horse. Do you know that? He wears like that ranch hand coat, the hat. He's got a horse named Buddy, I think. Is it Buddy? I think that's awesome, by the way. Aren't they amazing animals? It I'm a dog person, but I've shared with you I have and I'm blessed. I'm beyond humbled on this one. Some of these Navy SEALs who become genuine friends over the years. Um, who had some issues adjusting. The adrenaline, some of the post team stuff, and a couple of them in particular, some of the physical injuries from IEDs and things from their 20 or 15 deployments. Can you believe it? Um, and they told me the one thing that helped was just that equine horse. They don't even have to ride the horse, Michael, just to go spend time with a horse alone in a field or barn, to groom the horse, to get to know it, to look it in the eye. They said literally, Jack, that horse absorbed absorbed me. It just absorbed a lot of my tough emotions and just kind of was bigger and stronger and kind of took it out of me. And they became, it's just incredible. The relationship of the horse and a human. You have time now. Michael, thanks. Have a Merry Christmas. All right, we come back. We're talking about the mission and the work of Homeland Security right here at home in our New Hampshire State Police segment, brought to you by Auto Fair and the State Police. Good morning, Hampshire, powered by GMI Asphalt and Paving. Call Christine at the company or simply text PAVE, PAV, to 78,000 now. Back on Good Morning, New Hampshire, the pulse of an H in a moment. All right, welcome back on this Thursday morning. Before we get to our friends from the Homeland Emergency Management, Homeland Security side of things on this big storm, a lot of people still without power and dealing with cleanup from earlier in the week. We're going to bring in our own White House correspondent, John Decker. And John, good morning on this Thursday. You could talk a little bit about next steps. You know, the legal process, being an attorney, on what President Trump's team or campaign will do in terms of challenging this Colorado ballot decision. But John, I'm going to cut to the chase. Donald Trump doesn't really need Colorado in terms of his reelection configuration. I think it went Biden last time by 13 to 14 points. But this is gonna energize his base even more, isn't it? Yeah. Well, John, you know what? And I hope you can tell because you're on with us each morning. Get over that cold for the Christmas day here. But John, real quickly, last time I checked, Trump hasn't been convicted of anything yet on that front, has he? Mm, yeah. Yeah. John Decker, own White House correspondent. John, make it a good Thursday. Get some rest. Thank you. Stay hydrated. All right. Hey, we're going to switch gears, our state police segment and our public safety, brought to you by AutoFair, and have two really great guests this morning. And they're partners of the state police and all of law enforcement, all the local departments, the sheriff departments, firefighters, our friends at New Hampshire Department of Safety, Homeland Security, and Emergency Management. And we had quite a storm system earlier this week. And we have Vanessa in on the public information side of things, along with one of her colleagues. I'm going to let Vanessa kick it off. Thanks for being back with us. Tell us a little bit about your role and who you have with you. And you've been busy, and it's probably not going to be the first big storm system you're going to be dealing with. Now, I saw from buddies of mine that were kind of riding this out north of the Notches, if you will. Of course, Jackson is on the other side, south of Crawford Notch, but that river in Jackson, I don't know if it's the Ellis River, was flowing off of that mountain. Mount Washington, the Omni Resort, Bretton Woods, 302. I mean, the golf course, the road to the hotel, they were just washed out by the Emmanusick. Some really serious water stuff going on. Yeah. Vanessa, the public information side of things, and Megan, can you maybe talk a little bit about your roles, a little more about the Department of Safety's partnership, Homeland Security, Emergency Management? You know where it is, what's involved, and what your kind of the mission. I mean, it's a little bit obvious, but it may not be. Can I go back 1 second? So you said it's Megan, right? You said, Megan, that you actually on times like that you kind of go into a 24/7 mode for an emergency situation. Is that what you have kind of all hands on deck? Wow. Wow. And so that would be kind of the official partnership town communication. What about individual residents, Vanessa, that might be looking for? I mean, you were going to try and get some information out to them, right? Who had damage? And what's the process? What do you want them to? Where do they go, and how do they do that? Wow. Wow, that is good counsel because you just never know. And it was unusual system. I mean, you had the winds, just sheets of rain and a lot of water all at once, and yet very mild temperatures for the time of year. It was just kind of an aberration. But yet the whole east, I mean, that came up, I think, from Florida. The winds in that whole, places like South Carolina, low country of Charleston. I saw videos and pictures of like cars downtown, pretty much almost submerged. You had really a lot of flooding here. What's the power situation? I talked to one friend this morning who's visiting friends in Rockland, Maine, and there are pockets still in Waterville and other parts where they're still dealing with tree damage, power outages still up in Maine. What about here? How are we doing? Everyone restored for the most part? And again, you're listening to our friends on the Homeland Security or emergency management side of things. Best way to contact you, Megan, it said 211. Is that in a time of distress or just to contact? I mean, if someone wants to go to your website or, how does that, what's the best way to do that? Now, Vanessa, I know you have a communications media background in terms of the public information. And Megan, I'm not sure of your background, but maybe just talk a little bit about um, Homeland Security, emergency management, your team. Do you like what you do when you don't have big, like as Megan said, all hands on deck earlier this week, 24/7 situations? What do you do when things are calm and nice and beautiful and calm, cool, and collected? And do you have any openings or people want to learn? Because a lot of people, it's fairly recent. I know it's been a number of years, but I mean, New Hampshire really got its act together a number of years ago because I think we've learned from natural disasters and man-made disasters nationally and locally that a lot of silos weren't communicating with each other. A certain, I've talked in law enforcement on the terrorism front. The FBI may not have been talking to the state police, or the state police might not have been talking to, military folks. So one thing we've tried to do as a country and state and region is bring these groups together. And so on the Homeland Security or manage emergency management, that's one of the goals, right? Is to kind of coordinate for all communities in the state, all agencies in the state, one main place, where the governor and you folks kind of have a handle on things to get the help out, to get, to kind of get things done faster, correct? Yeah. Mhm. Megan, what was your path here? Thank you. How many folks full time on your team? Well, on that note, recruit away. Tell us about, openings and how people can, can they contact you for an informational interview? How does that work? Mhm. So it's really a potpourri. So the skill sets don't assume it's one thing. You could have for example, you could have been a utility worker, a line person out there for years, retired, but looking for part-time work to go out and assess and help. So you multiple kind of skill sets, right? All right. Well, listen, both thank you very much. And as Vanessa pointed out, I guess we got some wins coming in today, but no, probably nothing like early in the week. Good luck. Thank you both very much, and safe and happy holiday season. Hopefully, you won't be in any 24/7 situations. But you never know. All right. Thank you both. Brought to you by the State Police and Auto Fair on the Homeland Security Emergency Management side. And again, one last time, if people want to contact you real quick, I don't know. I know you just both took their headsets off, but Vanessa, one more time, if people want to contact you for any reason at all, what's the site? What's the best way? All right. And if you're a town or an official out there and you have to report something, I guess it's the 211, right? You can ask for your department. Thank you both very much. Back on Good Morning Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. You got a lot more coming up. Some of our regular contributors, more reaction to that St. Anselm poll, more reaction to the Colorado decision, a whole lot more. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Back in a moment. I'm always struck when we have really good state employees on the show here. I think it's true in any state, Maine, our listening region. The number of job openings. Now, I understand we have one of the lower per capita unemployment numbers of any state in the country. I think the last time I checked, it was like 1.7% of our available workers are unemployed. But when I have on like certain folks, like we just had on with J-Dog, you knew Vanessa from her TV days. Yeah, but I mean, you get on like talking about Homeland Security, emergency management, state police, 911 dispatch communications, Department of Transportation. There are hundreds of job openings. And I don't know about you all. You do you, I'll do me, you do you. That's just how I roll. But I don't want to be a preacher on this stuff or preach to you on this, but I got to tell you, the people I know who've retired early are just not that happy. I'll leave it at that. I personally think, in some commentary, I think working is a virtue, not a headache. I think being able to work, you look at people who are into their 70s and 80s, even, they can still go to work. They will or would. And, I think this model, and again, I'm just looking at reality. It's not only economic, but I think this model of you hit 62 or 65 or 55 or 66 or 68, and you retire. Well, and then what? You spend your whole life planning, and I get it. And then you reach a point, and what's the mission? Now, again, everyone's different. You do you, I'll do me. I'm just pointing this out. If you love to fly fish, or you absolutely love to travel, and you can stay busy, well, that's great. Or if you retire and you want to get involved in a nonprofit, that's awesome. You want to help veterans, and there's many veteran groups out there. That's awesome. You want to volunteer, that's great. But just to do nothing. My point is, all these state jobs, you could have had 2 or 3 careers already, be 61 years old, 66 years old, and you might still have a lot to offer. And they're looking for part and full-time employment with benefits and everything. But it's a mission. It's not just how much is the hourly pay, what are the benefits, what's the job, but it's like you get up, you go out on that Monday morning, you go to a team, you have a mission. And I got to tell you, I've learned a while ago. I thought when I was younger that I was going to hit a certain stage and age and just, call it quits. And I guess I could have done that along the way. I'm blessed that way, but it scares the living heck out of me to think about, not having a mission, not having I just think work is virtue. I think it's virtuous. And if you can do something, as you get older, I think it's great. It keeps you vital. I think that sometimes people make a mistake by retiring too soon. And I think, working, I have a buddy who, again, had a few careers, if you will. I'm not going to say his name because he's probably working right now, because for a little while he wasn't. And he went to one of these, let's just say, might rhyme with Home Depot or Lowe's, but he went to one of these places because he's always tinkering. He likes to build. He just likes to work in his house. He's good. He's one of these guys, when I didn't have a certain kind of a tool for something, you go buy, or a piece of something that cut a certain way, and he had all the saws. He's just a very handy person, loved to work with his hands. And he went to one of these places. Here's someone who's owned properties and had rented them, had a business he and his brother sold, and he went to one of these places, and the next thing you know, he's got kind of a semi-management job. He didn't go there for a full-time job, but he's now working, and he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He's like 20 years of just, there's a bounce in his step. He says, I got to get up a little earlier than I'm used to, but I'm there early and I love it. They kind of gave me the keys to the store, and my job is to get this going and get everything set for everyone. It's responsibility. He's like a little kid again. And, there are these jobs out there, and it might not just be for the income, but with inflation, I got to tell you, having money in does help, because I just think, but it's beyond the money thing. It's right. It's like having a mission in life. And we've gotten so much. There's no perfection in life. We talked yesterday about J-Dog had a point about how how low public opinion is of Congress, and we had that segment yesterday of it's like the do nothing Congress. Every 6 to 8 weeks, all they do is get together and avoid a looming government shutdown and approve more funding. But what do they really do? I mean, people are down on that. They're down on national media. They're down on politicized justice departments, whatever you want to say. That people are just kind of had it. They're fried. They're just politicked out. I get it. I talk about how wacko healthcare is. That's why we're doing our town hall on Wednesday morning, January 17th, the state of addiction and mental health here at home in New Hampshire at the Capitol Center for the Arts live. Come be part of the show if you want. Seating is available, but limited and free. We're going to have some great partners on Wednesday morning, January 17th at the Bank of New Hampshire stage, Capitol Center for the Arts in Concord, 9 to noon. But healthcare. Number one cause, number one problem in families and kids and teenagers is depression, anxiety, mental health, and too often addiction, and they can go hand in hand. Too many veterans are taking their own lives. Mental health is a real crisis, and no one talks about it. All these ads on TV, the big pharma, billions of dollars on pills and shots and everything else, but no one talks about mental health. I mean, no pun intended, how dumb is that? The other thing is universities are going through, people are doing a reassessment on the value of an Ivy League education may not be what it used to be because of politics. It's just everything is politicized and indoctrination versus education and politics versus history. And people have had it. Well, the final one is our whole system of work and retirement, I think has been, blank backwards. If you can work and you don't need the money, what a blessing. I mean, look, isn't it funny how we complicate the living heck out of life? Someone far smarter than me once said, if you like what you do, it isn't work. And I learned that, at a buddy's funeral on Tuesday. He was a builder, Danny Palmer. And one of the lines was, if you like what you do, it's not work. And it's so true. Now, that's not true for everyone. A lot of people absolutely despise what they do. They dread Monday. They start getting stressed out, start getting like ulcers and heartburn on Sunday night because they gotta get up. Well, then do something else. Don't blame that employer if you don't like it. There's tons of jobs out there. Go get a job you like. Go be responsible. What a novel concept. Go get something you like and want to do. But there's all kinds of employment. And I would tell you that I think stopping working and not working when you can work might not be as healthy for you in the long run. It's just some commentary, but I just remarked on those, our friends from how much they love what they do. Homeland Security, emergency management. They love it. What'd she say? Vanessa said, every day is different. They love what they do. Best job, best department, best people. Go work there part-time. Some commentary, 603-228-2080. J-Dog has his pick six a little bit later on. I guess is a good one tonight. I already forgot he told me who was playing. Saints Rams. There you go. I don't think the Bruins are back in action tomorrow night. Oh, gee, they'll be a little bit later. Bull Moose. When we come back, Good Morning Hampshire, the Pulse for Nature in a moment. One of the interesting sidebar stories, the Democrats in Congress are sending a letter to Joe Biden wanting him to dramatically pressure Israel to change their military strategy, their strategy in Gaza. I wonder if these Democrats know that there was a good ceasefire in place in Gaza before October 7th, before the Hamas terrorists brutally attacked and killed and butchered and raped all those Israeli children and school kids and grandmothers. I wonder if they knew that there was a perfectly good ceasefire before October 7th. I wonder if they know what the leading covenant of Hamas as an organization, a terrorist organization. You could say they're political, but they're look at the underground tunnel system. And I love how the terrorists, they leave Israel and go hide in the hospitals and operate their command centers where the sick and wounded are. Remember how Israel was getting blamed early on for all the hospital stuff? Isn't that amazing? But here's the point. There was a good ceasefire in place before October 7th. But the Democrats are now, see, that Joe Biden's got a problem because his own party is, and this is one of the areas I've been complimentary of Biden, say Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense of the administration, because they've supported Israel as they should and we must for security. But some of the morons out there don't even understand. And I'm sorry, I just can't think of another word. I know it's not very Christian, but some of the misguided fools with too many college degrees don't even understand what Hamas as an organization stands for, the obliteration of Israel. But that doesn't seem to matter to some people. So there's an interesting story about, it just came out, I got on this, senators in New Hampshire. We've had Jeb Bradley on, the Senate president, several times talking about this. We had Senator Dan Innes on talking about this, calling on UNH, University of New Hampshire, to stand up against the harassment of Jewish students. The New Hampshire Senate recently passed Senate Resolution 11. The State Senate of New Hampshire. New Hampshire Senate recently passed Senate Resolution 11, reaffirming our support for the state of Israel and the safety and security of its people. We're calling on the university to similarly reaffirm its commitment to denouncing all hate speech and racism, especially those related to anti-Semitic hate. You know, it is remarkable, the level of anti-Semitism that was watched, tolerated, and therefore probably encouraged by so many universities, including Harvard, UPenn, Cornell, Columbia. And again, as I said, when this was happening, it didn't surprise me that there was that much anti-Semitism on modern day universities and Ivy League campuses. It just disappointed me. It didn't surprise me because what at the root of what was really that was all about is people who are supposed to be well-educated, and these are supposed to be homes of higher education, not lower education, open speech, not hate speech, is these universities had a real anti-American sentiment long before the war between Israel and Hamas, long before the October 7th attack, long before the Israeli forces going into Gaza to root out Hamas terrorists. They had an anti-American sentiment on these campuses for about 15, 20 years. So why wouldn't they have an anti-Semitic or anti-Israel sentiment? The only ally the U.S. has in the entire Middle East is Israel. That's it. These university professors, these students have no understanding of history, real, unedited history of World War II, of Adolf Hitler, of 6.2 million Jewish people, not just murdered, tortured, systematically numbered, shot in pits along train tracks or the ones they wanted to take to concentration camps, medical experiments, put into ovens alive. Hitler and his team, 6.2 million Jewish people. Go to the Holocaust in Washington, D.C., spend a day. Come out and see the lampshades and the little shoes made out of skin and hair from Jewish concentration camp prisoners. 6.2 million. And now you have Hamas, their sole mission is to obliterate Israel. Tehran. And by the way, this group in the Red Sea, same thing, supported by Iran. Hezbollah, terrorist organizations. And yet we have bubble-wrapped college students on college campuses chanting and protesting things that are basically calling for the obliteration of Israel. Now, you could say they're young, they don't know better. Okay, what about their professors and administrators? There's no gray area. There's no gray area in this discussion. None. You either support hate and terrorism or you support free and open speech and not hatred, not anti-Semitism. There's just no room there. But I'm looking at all the people, including members of the so-called squad. Isn't that hilarious? They call them the squad, progressive Democrats, the most regressive group of people I've ever seen in my life. But it is America, and people can say and do what they want and think to a point. But when you have outright hate and people calling for genocide or the elimination of the state of Israel, anti-Semitism, given the history of the Jewish people, there's no gray area, none whatsoever. And don't kid yourself, half these universities would have condemned and sanctioned and fired professors if what they were tolerating and tweeting out and saying their chants, if it went against their political narrative. You know, if any of these college campuses, if anyone was saying anything that was racial or, you know, for example, promoting white supremacy groups as a professor at Harvard, that professor would be fired in a New York minute. But not when it came to anti-Semitism. What does that tell you? Well, a lot of it is it's downright anti-American, a lot of these campuses, and it's been that way for about 15 to 18 years. Some commentary, 603-228-2080. All right, we come back more on that poll from St. Anselm College. Can Nikki Haley catch Trump? Will independents vote big or not in the primary? We'll have some more financial expertise, my friends at Guyton Forge, Guyton Financial. Also, a little bit later on, some political analysis. Phil Taub on deck, Lucas Meyer. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Back in a moment.